Live from Manchester Morgue mostly contains spoilers. Mostly.
This is not a dream. We are using your preferred podcast provider as a receiver.
Welcome to Live from Manchester Morgue, where we traditionally talk about two films that will make a great double bill. I'm Gary, and this is Ken. Hello, Ken.
Hello, traditionally makes us feel established. I like that traditionally.
I very carefully chose that word, so you did pick up on it, because we're now old enough to officially have podcast traditions, because this month we are 1 year old.
We
We started recording and releasing episodes in April 2025. So, yeah, we've got an established legacy now, you might say.
all those year ago.
What do we start with? Hellraiser.
Oh yeah, I think
Hellraiser and A
hell,
Dark Song. That was the two first films we covered.
yeah, good
Um,
films.
so for the listeners' benefit, if you've ever wondered why we are called what we are called, and by that I mean why we're called Manchester Morgue, not why Ken's called Ken and I'm called Gary, because that wasn't up to us. Um, we named ourselves after a film from 1974 called The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, aka Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. So
No. AKA let sleeping corpses lie. AKA don't open the window.
don't open the
AKA
window. I haven't heard that one.
AKA non si deve profanare il sonno de morte, which means the sleep of the dead must not be defiled.
Well, fuck me. I didn't do my research properly there, did I? Right. Well, we're called the traditional British name, which is Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, because we thought Live from Manchester Morgue has that. The Live from is obviously a bit of a play on the old 70s and 80s variety shows that you used to get on ITV at about
Yeah.
8 p.m. on a Saturday night. Leslie Tarbuck kind of stuff, Bruce Forsyth, I think that. Um, and obviously, we live in Manchester. We're from Manchester and we like the film. So that's why we called the show what we did. So we're going to be discussing that tonight, and the one that started it all, which is George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead from way back in 1968.
Yeah, the
Must have been one of the last kind of black and white films then.
I think I didn't specifically look at this for my research, but I'm pretty sure black and white was either an artistic or a budgetary choice by Romero. He didn't have
Sure.
to do it in black and white.
Because, I mean, colour was established by that point, but I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't not too long before that. It might have only been like within the last 10 years or something of 68, I think, that they fully embraced colour in the movies. I'm not sure. I'm not a historian.
Yeah.
So anyway, so those two films, you might say, Ken, that tonight's show will be dead good.
Well, that's better than the usual one. So yeah.
I've not done one for like two episodes because I don't like the face you make when I do it.
Well, well, you can't see my face at the
I can't
moment,
see. Well,
so
that's why I turn my camera off. I can't see you. Um, so before we get into that, we have a little treat for you. We've got some little A4 posters to give away of the show. If you like the show enough to want to have some of our artwork on the wall, you can win one. All you need to do, we're not doing a quiz. We've done a quiz before. It doesn't matter. All you need to do is tell us what your favorite zombie film is. Nice and easy. Anyone can do it. You can comment on Spotify if that's where you're following it, or on Instagram if you're following Manchester Morgue Pod. If you're not and you're on Instagram, please go and give that a follow. You can like our content. Uh, Email us at killertunes976@gmail.com. However you want to comment, just tell us your favorite zombie film, and we'll put all the names into a hat, and we'll announce the winners in a couple of weeks. We've got three to give away. Ken's got one, I've got one, and there's three more to give away to you, the people who listen to the show every week.
I thought you were going to give mine away then. You were like three, including the one that Ken's got. I'm currently using it to rest my beer on, but it's still in a cover.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because I need to get a frame for it. It's still
The
in the cover.
disrespect you're showing the show right now, and that's
Well, it's 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 holding my beer up. That's
fair enough.
that's
If you
quite
don't, as long
respect.
as you don't spill into it, I suppose it's all right. Um, so news. I haven't got much news this week. The one bit I do have is apparently they're doing yet another remake of The Fly starring Adam Driver.
Oh, okay, fine.
Meh.
I like Adam Driver. Fine.
I think
whatever.
he'd be quite good in the Jeff Goldblum role if that's the kind of route they're going. But I mean, The Fly is about as near perfect a film as you can get. I don't think there's really.
I think aside from some of the computer tech that he uses, it's kind of timeless.
Yeah, it is. I suppose the effects can always be updated, but even they look grisly as fuck to this day because we covered The Fly on the show, the Cronenberg one, and it still stands up.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of discourse about, like with any remake or reimagining, however you want to phrase it. There's a lot of people going, "Well, we don't need a remake." And mate, if you think need for a remake is what comes into play when the studio executives are greenlighting things, then I've got some very shocking news for you. uh,
I think all that I expect now. I mean, Hollywood's going to churn out remakes anyway because we have run out of original ideas. So, at the very least, a generation of people can go and see Adam Driver and then think, "Oh, I really love that. Is there more stuff like this?" And then Google it and then find out there's an original.
Wait, there's two
So,
other versions of this. All right, yeah, fair,
yeah,
good idea. So, have you got any news?
I don't have any news. No.
All right, fine. Right. Well, I did. I made an effort this week, and I watched a lot of like more films than usual, so we'd have something to talk about in this section that isn't just you telling me what you've seen because I'm not as good. I'm not as good at watching films as you are. So we'll start with one. And you'll like this. I know you've talked to me in the past about how you think it's quite good listening when we disagree on something,
hmm
and we will disagree on this because when I was watching it, I thought to myself, I bet Ken likes this. And I looked on Letterbox and he gave it 5 stars.
Oh, five. Oh, I did like
I
it.
gave it nowhere near 5 stars. Ennis Men.
Oh God, what a film!
Yeah.
What is Matt Jenkins, the director, guy that made Bait?
Yeah, I've not
Just
seen Bait. Bait's about the
absolute.
Cornish fisherman, is it?
Yeah, it's about the Cornish fisherman who's at war with like gentrification in his
Right.
village. I love Dennis Main, like pure folky vibes, absolutely gorgeous. Like, oh, did you not like it, basically?
No, no, no. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on it because I feel like it's the kind of film you either get something out of or you don't. It's not like an exercise in trying to appease people. It's obviously a bit of a strange narrative. In the same way that Skinamarink, I won't slag it off. I just found it boring. Like, it's for some people, and I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I think for me,
I need a narrative, and I need some events to
no, I
happen.
get.
I can't just enjoy a vibe for an hour, like 2 hours, is it? I think or thereabouts. It was quite long.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think the reason that I like Ennis Main, uh, Matt Jenkins is one of those filmmakers that'll introduce constraints. So, like, he deliberately uses old cameras, old audio equipment. It's all kind of, I think the main actress is his wife or partner, so it's all kind of like self-contained, very feels very personal, feels very what he wanted to make. It's very kind of idiosyncratic. I like it.
Sure, and I mean that shines through. I'll say that much. I think he's obviously made something he wanted to make, and that's surely the purpose of art. It's an independent film. At the end of the day, he doesn't have to appease anyone like me who just wanted something else. Um, but yeah, it was also I didn't like like how the texture of it like was a bit like there's like a grain on the film that looks sort of superimposed in it. I don't know how you would achieve it, but like the colors seemed a bit odd.
I think it's the equipment he's using.
Yeah, maybe
He did,
that kind of turned me off it a little bit as well. Like it's like someone had turned up a setting on the telly too high, like,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
was a bit off. Yeah. So as I
That
say,
that
it simply whatever he was trying to say did not reach me,
okay,
but I'm sure he reached other people such as yourself. So that's the important thing, isn't it?
and that's fine.
And that's
Having
fine.
having difference in opinion is fine. You don't have to go to
Okay.
Reddit. You don't have to comment. It's fine.
No, me and Ken can like different things. It's okay. Anthropophagus. I watched that.
What is
You seen
that? Is
that
that a
one?
word?
Fuck me. Well, anthropophagus means to of eating flesh.
Oh, cool. That's a good word. That's an appropriate
So
word.
it is about a cannibal on this island. Basically, so was it 1980s, 78, so late 70s, early 80s. Anyway, it was a video nasty,
Okay.
so it was banned in the UK. Um, So this is by a guy called Joe D'Amato.
Oh, Italian.
Well, Joe, it's either D'Amato or D'Amato. So you say D'Amato,
I say
I say
D'Amato.
D'Amato. He apparently made 200 films, including Porno Holocaust
Outstanding.
and Erotic Nights of the Living Dead.
Yeah, if you Google him, Erotic Nights of the Living Dead is right there.
Yeah,
Or
so there you go.
Orgasmo Nero 3,
Oh my God.
and then the strangely named Ator.
Ito.
Yeah.
Anyway, Anthropophagus, it's very fucking slow. There's some people go to an island, there's a really tall cannibal on it with a bit of a manky forehead. And he and he works his way through them. The standout scene and possibly the reason why it got video nasty status is he kills a pregnant woman and then puts his hand into her stomach and pulls out the fetus and eats it.
It's pretty gnarly kill.
Yeah, highly gnarly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look great by today's standards, but it's still fucking shocking. You're like, oh, Jesus. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It was quite slow. There was a cat. There's a really good cat in it. You know, we haven't done the how many cats are in it for a while because I haven't seen anything with a fucking cat in it for years. But
No
this
cats in
had a
these
cat in it.
ones, in these two tonight.
No, but there is a cat in Anthropophagus, and it jumps on a piano and does a classic like old timey jump scare. Ding, and they go ah, and they go ha 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 because it's just a cat.
I love it.
And then some woman who's been traumatized jumps out of a barrel and starts stabbing someone. It's it has its moments, just not
Yeah.
enough of them.
Okay.
And then for my tell you what, you do what you've watched next because mine will seg nicely into
Okay, good.
yep.
Um, so we've got HBO Max in the UK now. So I've been trawling through all the old HBO original movies that I couldn't get hold of previously. Finally got around to watching Cast a Deadly Spell, which I wanted to watch because it's directed by Martin Campbell, who directed the newer Bond films, did Casino Royale, he also did GoldenEye. Great
Love
director. Also,
Casino Royale.
yeah, also did the Zorro films with Antonio Banderas. Great director. It's also a 1940s noir, detective noir, where everyone uses magic.
Wow.
So, like, just that fucking premise, I'm like, yes, I'm
Yeah, that
in.
sounds great.
And I've been looking for a decent stream of it for years, and it's on HBO Max. I watched it, really fucking great. You got Fred Ward, you got Martin Campbell directing, you got Julianne Moore, you got Clancy Brown as the villain, you got
Holy
really
shit.
good kind of practical effects, a really cool premise that's like not too in your face and like kept back. The world building is quite good, subtle.
Right,
Um,
okay.
and then when it goes off and as you on a streaming service and it's like, would you like to watch this? There's a sequel called Witch Hunt, directed by Paul Schrader, starring Dennis Hopper in the
Mhm.
Fred Ward role, Julian Sands. There's like, and that's
Julian
kind of,
Sands, the warlock himself.
yeah, exactly. And that's basically about a US senator that wants that's flash forward to the 1950s. US senator is basically essentially doing a McCarthy witch hunt, but for actual witches and magic doers.
Right, okay.
That's another one that drops the practical effects for some early 90s CGI, which I didn't really like, but both of them are kind of fantasy horror adjacent and really, really interesting.
Wow, okay. That sounds great actually. Sounds like it's in the vein of like kind of a cross between like sort of maybe Constantine and Nightwatch, the Russian
Yeah,
one, and that kind of thing.
yeah,
I like that
100%.
kind of I like that kind of dark universe kind of shit. That sounds awesome. What's it called
Yeah.
again?
The first one's called Cast a Deadly Spell,
Cast a Deadly
1990,
Spell.
1992. The second one's Witch Hunt, 1995.
Mint. I'm gonna get them watched. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that everything?
Yeah, that's me. That's me for horror adjacent stuff. I
All right,
watch
okay.
lots of other stuff,
No, we're not
but we
talking
don't
about
talk about it here.
that. You can if you want.
Nah.
No, all
All
right,
right.
good. Right. So the final thing I watched, right, and I hadn't seen it before. I remember seeing the DVD cover of it years ago. Um, and it wasn't under the name that I watched it under this time. I went down a bit of a zombie rabbit hole with this week's episode in mind.
Mm,
And the film's called, when I heard about it this time, was called Flesh Eater, right?
yeah.
It's AKA Zombie Nosh, right? So it was written by, starring, and directed by William Hinsman, who played the first zombie who attacks Barbara in the original Night of the Living Dead.
Lad with a brick.
Lad with a brick. So he essentially reprises his role as a zombie. He gets dug up out of a thing. Obviously, this film's like 1988, so like 20 years later, he doesn't look the same. And then he just goes on a rampage and starts eating people.
I
And
love
that's
it.
it. That's kind of it, really. It was not a good film by any means, but there's a surprising amount of gore in it. If you like that 80s gore, which we do on this show, it's if you want to feel like when you first started watching horror films when you were a kid, that quite bad ones, not very well made, but would have probably scared you as a kid. But you can just appreciate the warmth of nostalgia in it now. I'd say it's a good one for that.
That's cool.
It's like I wouldn't expect someone 20 years younger than me to watch that now and enjoy it. People of our age who like horror films, if you've not seen it and you grew up watching low budget, well, if you were watching any kind of horror films, which you probably did if you're fans of this show, then it's a good flashback to those vibes and that time in your life. It was for
Yeah.
me. I enjoyed watching it. It wasn't a good film, but I enjoyed it. We've got some nice comments actually. Should I just dive into them before we dive into the film?
Yeah, let's do the comments.
Given that we've reached our 1 year anniversary, so Dave the expat has returned
Who left
to
Manchester? He
he's returned
left.
to us in terms of the podcast. He's returned
Yeah.
to the fold of the Manchester Morgue. By fans for the fans. Listening to you both is like meeting up with a fellow horror hounds in a cafe, chewing the horror goss. Thanks for a great show, and I hope to meet in person one day, maybe at Grimfest or Rilla Thriller.
Rilla Thriller? What is that?
Well, I presume it's some sort of horror festival in Rill in North Wales.
Wow. Okay. Right, I'll look that up. Also, we're getting promo notifications from Grimfest. That's gearing up. So
Oh
we
yeah,
should
yeah,
probably.
yeah. Oh, he also says sending genuine top vibes and congrats on a great show. The last one with the Adams family, top notch.
Yeah, favorite interview so far since we started doing the show, I
That was
think.
really great. I really enjoyed that. Dabk on the Moon says your most recent episode where you spoke about Mother of Flies and Hellbender was a real treat. Hearing from Toby and John about how they got started and so much more made me appreciate them as filmmakers even more, especially after these two beautiful films. So excited for another year hearing from you lads. Fingers crossed.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah. And then Shah said, I loved episode 24. You guys have definitely dialed in the format. And I really appreciated the discussion that followed the guest interview about rescinding of Roe versus Wade and the context in which the film was made, i.e., the erosion of women's rights. Thank you very much. I'm glad that came across. I'm glad we managed to get that across because it's very important, obviously.
It's what we want.
That's what we want. Kirst says, I don't do podcasts because I'm old and grumpy. Same, Kirst. But I do make an exception for you guys as I'm a huge lover of film and the horror genre. Thanks for keeping things interesting and happy anniversary.
Hey.
One more. Brian McCall. Congratulations on 1 year. It is a great show with interesting guests. You are both very passionate about horror movies and bring great knowledge. Here's to the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one more year. One more year. That's what the
One more
Americans say,
year.
don't you? Yeah.
One of us. So
Yeah.
right, thanks to everyone who commented today on this, who's commented in the past. Thanks to everyone who's listened to it so far. It does kind of keep us motivated when we get these nice comments. So if you ever have a couple of minutes to spare, do leave us something. We'll tend to read it out. Ratings are also nice. If you're on Spotify, leave us a rating on there. Join us on Instagram, Manchester Morgue Pod on there. Interact with us more if you like that. There's some pictures of us on there now. You can see
Yeah,
what
you
we
know
look
what we
like.
look like now. We're not the cat.
You've
We're not
seen
the
our
cats.
cats. We're not the cats. No, we're the humans holding the cats in those pictures. But you can check that out if you can be asked. If not, doesn't matter. It's an audio podcast. You can imagine that we look like the Elephant Man if you want. Doesn't matter to me.
I'd rather anyone imagine that I just look like Henry Cavill, but
No,
can't have everything.
you
Um,
can't
I,
have everything.
I like how in your picture, Pickle is looking very kind of, stately and still, Whereas in mine, Yukiko is just kind of just he just wants to escape. He hates me, basically.
Well, to be fair, I tried the picture once with Eddie, who writhed and just escaped. So I got Pickle and bullied her because she's smaller. She couldn't
Yeah.
get away, so I just sort of held on to her and then managed to get the picture taken by my wife. Thank you.
Eddie takes
Um,
after his namesake.
yeah, he does. Right, we've got some comments on the films for tonight as well. So shall I rattle through those as well? Might as well, hadn't I?
Yeah.
So I put out a skeet, as they call it, a blue sky tweet post, whatever the fuck
Is
you
that what they
call it.
call it?
I don't know what, because it's like Twitter, so it's like a tweet, but it's on blue sky, so they say skeet.
I'm repeating jokes here. I'm sure I've said this in a previous episode, but it should be skied because it just reminds me of being a kid when you'd like kick a
Sky the
Casey and it'd
ball,
fly
yeah.
off. Oh, you skied it,
Bing!
knobhead.
Yeah, you skied it, you dickhead. Go and get it. Go and get it. You climb over the fence, you dickhead. Anyway, yeah, so right, I'll say post. I should just say post. I posted on Blue Sky about the films we were watching and said, does anyone want to say anything about these? Dark and Wanderers said he's not seen the first one yet, which was The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue.
Hmm.
Though I did read a short story inspired by it. It was similarly titled about zombies in Moscow or something many years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked it up if I'm being honest. So perhaps I should try and find that on eBay or something. Um, he goes on to say Night of the Living Dead is among the best films ever made, stunning alchemy on a budget, and a performance by Dwayne Jones that lifts it to greatness.
Yeah.
And then we had Chen Echo says, when I was a kid, a local TV station would play Night of the Living Dead with a green filter on for St. Patrick's Day.
Holy shit. Oh,
Why? What a weird thing to do, though.
it'd be good to watch that drunk.
I wonder if is it just that? Like, was it just Night of the Living Dead? Like, what's the connotation between that and St. Patrick's Day, or was it everything? Was that just that? It's like, why that film in particular?
Odd.
Odd choice. But then I suppose, I mean, you could it would only work on a black and white film, wouldn't it? So maybe that's something to do with it.
Just do all black and white films in
Well, I see
pretty.
it, but why Night of the Living Dead every time? But then again, famously, Night of the Living Dead is always on like horror host shows where they introduce stuff because it's in the public domain, I think, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's
So
like
maybe that was why it was on the local TV station. That would make sense.
a million knockoffs and
Yeah.
what do we call it?
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with the biggie then. On to Night of the Living Dead.
Right. So since we just talked about knockoffs,
Mm.
just to get it out of the way, the thing that obviously so but we put our profiles on the Instas recently, and my favorite horror film is Dawn of the Dead. Or one of my top five. It's my favorite horror film.
Yeah, tune into the Instagram and look at those pictures of our faces because then you get a fun little profile of me and Ken. It tells you about our favorite films,
Tells you about the things that we like.
the things we enjoy.
Um, so my favorite horror is Dawn of the Dead. One of your favorite horrors is Return of the Living Dead.
I think it's probably
Now,
my favorite film actually.
the rich kind of tapestry of events that led to there being two separate of the Dead franchises begins
Mm.
here. So let's give you a bit of history. Night of the Living Dead was kind of funded and created by a group of investors called Image 10. Now, this was 10 individuals. I'm not going to list all 10 of them, but the two key ones were George A. Romero, the director of Night of the Living Dead, and John A. Russo. I'm only just realizing now, looking at my notes, that they both have A as an initial in the middle. How strange. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so they kind of created Night of the Living Dead together. I think John A. Russo was writer or co-writer. Um, during the release of during the post-production and release of Night of the Living Dead, the title was changed from Night of the Flesh Eaters to Night of the Living Dead. But during that process, the copyright notice was accidentally left out of release prints. Because of that, the IP entered the public domain.
Christ on earth.
Key creatives in Image 10 still held the rights to future projects. John A. Russo, around this time, around after Night of the Living Dead kind of finished, John A. Russo and George A. Romero kind of parted creative ways. They wanted to go different ways with kind of this kind of zombie fiction that they'd created. they had an informal agreement to divide the sequel rights where Romero would continue the Of the Dead series, which he did with Dawn and Day. Russo would retain the rights to the phrase Living Dead in his titles. Russo then goes on to co-write a novel, Return of the Living Dead, which the concept of which is then licensed and adapted into the 1985 film. And there we go.
Wow. Adapted by, was it Dan O'Bannon who wrote Return of the Living Dead? I think it was, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there's actually, I mean, have you read the book
I
of
haven't, no.
Return? I wonder if it's any good. Like, I wonder how closely the film follows it.
Yeah, I'm interested to read the book in that he specifically wrote it just so that he could have it adapted. So kind of,
Probably quite close then.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead. What can we say? It's
I can't
it's not.
believe it was nearly called Night of the Flesh Eaters. That's such a shit title compared to Night of the Living Dead. Like, I can't
Yeah,
imagine it being called anything else.
yeah. It's interesting. It had another couple of working titles. I think when they originally kind of got together as the Image 10 collective and they were spitballing ideas, it was called something just throwaway like Monster Movie or something like that. Anyway, but it ended up being
Blue
the
Harvest.
yeah, yeah, Blue Harvest, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think from for the purposes of this episode, we'll call it the OG. It's not an OG kind of zombie movie. You've got many others. You had White Zombie in 1932, starring Bela Lugosi. The
Yeah.
absolutely
Plague of the
fantastic
Zombies, the Hammer one.
Plague of the Zombies, outstanding. The
Yep.
fantastic I Walked with a Zombie, 1943, from Val Lewton, produced by Val Lewton, which I would highly recommend anyone watch. These kind of focus in on the misattributed generalization of West Indies mythology, but
Yes.
really the true roots of zombie myth lie in kind of Haitian voodoo and
Hmm.
slavery. So that's kind of where the kernel of that idea passes into cinema with those early films. I think Romero kind of shuffles that around, kind of co-opts it into quite an obvious allegory of kind of society. We'll talk a bit about this later about how both cast and filmmaker shy away from the political implications of Night of the Living Dead. But obviously, as he goes forward in his career, his films become raw political statements, especially the likes of like Dawn and Day.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it started off life as a inspired by Richard Matheson's I Am Legend,
Was
which
it?
yeah, well, it was so that's where the idea came from for Romero. He wanted to kind of do something like that, like I Am Legend.
Right, okay.
Um,
I mean, they made that the first adaptation was it the Omega Man with Charlton
Omega Man with
Heston?
Charlton Heston,
Yeah.
which is great. Later, um, a better adaptation, the Omega Man from The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror.
I reckon there's
Um,
been at least notwithstanding the Will Smith one. I think there's been another one and I can't remember what it is.
the Will Smith one, which I've only watched once at the
I haven't
cinema,
seen
and
it.
I'll never fucking watch it again
I'm not
because
bothering.
he's forced to kill his own dog.
I
Uh,
heard about that. Yeah, I'm just not interested in it. A big budget Hollywood adaptation of that film. I don't think it needed it.
yeah, I
Although I
think
think we've discussed this on previous shows. Mike Patton did the voice of all the zombie vampire things in it, didn't he? Did all the
yeah,
screams and that.
and we like anything that Mike Patton's involved with,
Mike
really.
Patton can do what he wants, as
But
far as I'm concerned.
if you want to hear Mike Patton do zombie sounds, just play Left 4 Dead.
Well, that's true. Um, I've remembered what I was going to say. I've remembered what I was going to say. So you said about George Romero and Night of the Living Dead not being the OG as such because there were previous zombie films, but it was the first one to have them as flesh eaters. I think
Yeah, so this
none
is
of them did that before. I think they leaned more into the idea of humans becoming sort of entering a state of living death, except for Plague of the Zombies, which was literally reanimated corpses, but it played into that whole stereotype of them being like golems almost, enslaved to do something. They were like workers.
Yeah,
whereas George's ones were just literally people got back up and they were dead and started biting you.
it's interesting. I mentioned the Cast a Deadly Spell and Witch Hunt HBO movies earlier. That has kind of a running gag where because everyone uses magic, the mob bosses in the world have zombies that kind of work for them, that which are giant kind of. Um, I think at one point a character says you can get them shipped six in a box from the West Indies, which is incredibly in poor taste, but quite funny.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Um,
But yeah,
so sorry, go on.
I think in terms of being the OG, this is the blueprint. This is the kind of iconography and in terms of the zombie genre, which spawned billions of dollars of films, TV series, video games, a second renaissance that starts with 28 days later, many, many decades after Night of the Living Dead, which then spawned Walking Dead and all sorts of stuff, comic books, everything starts here. It starts here.
Yeah, sure. I'm absolutely on board with that. Um, I know George was always very vocal about the fact that zombies shouldn't run. There's a specific video of him saying that. It says zombies don't run, they shouldn't run, blah blah blah. But then I was rewatching this the other day, and that first zombie does actually kind of run a
He
bit.
does. Not only
He
does he
runs
run,
after
but
the car.
he like he's cognizant enough that he picks up a brick and like bricks a window in. And
Yeah,
throughout the series, apart from Bob and eventually in Land of the Dead in
land is when they
2005,
start evolving, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, they
Big
don't really
Daddy.
use implements.
No, no, he's quite a smart guy. But I mean, I guess at that point in the timeline, he was one of the first. So maybe he
Yeah,
wasn't dead enough. Like maybe like the later ones had been dead for longer and they weren't as good at it. That sort of thing. Who knows? But yeah, I just thought it was ironic that George had this really, he stood very firmly on that zombies shouldn't run. And then you watch his very first film and the zombie proper runs it. Actually
yeah,
runs anyway, runs after the
yeah.
car. Well, I mean, it shambles at haste. I don't know if
Shambles at Haste. I love that. Sh
it
Shambles at Haste is like a really good indie band name.
yeah, it is. I'm going to start that band. But yeah, I mean, it's basically running. It's running about as much as a zombie does in that universe.
I think
Um,
I think there's a place for running zombies, but if you're having a running zombie, the format of the film changes. I think in Romero's defense, Romero zombies shouldn't run because Romero zombies represent something. They
yeah,
represent us, the shambling masses of Earth, kind of wandering and devouring, and they're a metaphor. So
yeah, of course, and that's vastly different from what other people have been making. I just think it's a bit gatekeepy of him to say zombies don't run, despite of the fact that he sort of arguably invented the flesh-eating zombie genre. I think, well, you know, it's mythology, that you've created. People are going to take license with it. It's like saying you have a vampire film. If a vampire doesn't get killed by a stake through the heart, Bram Stoker says you can't do that. Well, I don't care what Bram Stoker says.
maybe he
If I want to
would, you
write
don't
a,
know.
well, I might. But my point is, I don't think George needed to gatekeep that
Yeah,
essentially.
but I think beyond being the progenitor of a million things,
Progenitor,
yeah, it's a fun word.
some
I
fancy
think
word that.
I think alongside that, the legacy of Night in independent cinema is often overlooked. It was a complete shake-up and like radicalization of low-budget filmmaking. There's so many filmmakers that saw Night. I was watching through the Criterion edition for my research, and there's Guillermo del Toro and like Robert Rodriguez who specifically says that watching Night made him realize that kind of anyone can make a film. Um, so that kind of not so much guerrilla filmmaking because it wasn't. It was just a low budget film, but made very much on the terms of Romero and his kind of fellow investors.
There's an
Um,
irony there because I think arguably zombie films for a long time were quite easy to do in that sort of respect. That you can probably have a handful of people a reasonable hand at some makeup or just some green makeup. I mean, look at Dawn of the Dead. They weren't particularly. I mean, there were some good zombies in it, like in terms of makeup, but the general zombie horde, you could do that
Yeah,
in your back garden. But
yeah.
not to the scale of Dawn of the Dead, obviously. And for that's why there are so many bad zombie films out there because everybody saw that and went, I can make a film. And
Yeah,
then
and I mean you still get super low budget zombie films. There's that great
yeah,
film Colin, um,
Colin's fucking great. Yeah,
which is a
Fido
zombie
is
film that
also
was
lots of fun. He's in
Fido's great,
Fido.
yeah.
I love Fido.
Um, Billy Connolly, innit?
Yeah, Billy
Yeah,
Connolly plays titular Fido.
yeah,
Titular coming back.
yeah. Good word, good word. Um, but yeah,
But I mean, the
relative.
same cycle happened again with found footage, didn't it? Blair Witch Project redefined that as a guerrilla marketing, the guerrilla um, filmmaking method, essentially. Very
Yeah,
low
there.
budget, made shitloads of money, and now to this day, we're still getting every fucking week. There's a new found footage film that is absolute dross.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose I do agree, and filmmaking does have those kind of generational trends where in Night of the Living Dead was just kind of a bunch of people getting together with
Mm,
creative kind of nous and a bit of money that they've scratched together and making a movie. Later on, you get people like Robert Rodriguez who like put himself through medical trials and maxed out credit cards to make El Mariachi. And then, as you say, found footage where anyone can go out with a fucking video camera and shake it about a bit and you've got a
yeah,
movie. Fast forward a couple more decades or maybe even a decade and people are filming on phones
yeah,
like
they are.
Florida Project. Um, I forget the filmmaker's name. Sean, what? Forgot his name. I'm a terrible cinephile that I forgot his name. Made a guy that made Anora and Red Rocket and anyway, Florida Project was shot on an iPhone, and that's like an award-winning
Mhm.
film that kickstarted another generation of indie filmmakers. Yeah. So
I think George did a found footage, didn't he as well? Was it Diary of the Dead? Or
Diary
is
of the
it?
Dead. Yeah,
Yeah. I
all of
mean,
the Dead films are great. All of
mm,
them, even
mm,
Survival,
okay.
which no one seems to like.
Let's move on. So,
Do you not agree?
no,
What? They're all
no,
great.
I don't agree.
Wow,
No, the
that was
first
very
three I
intense.
fucking meant. I wasn't into Land of the Dead. I went to the pictures to see it. Um, it was all right. It just wasn't on par with what I'd seen before. I mean, my favorite of his original trilogy is Day of the Dead. Anyway, it's not even Dawn, which is obviously lauded as the kind of the classic that everyone likes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just felt like there were diminishing returns. I don't even know if I've seen them all. Honestly, I think did I watch Diary? I think I watched Diary,
So
and then
yeah,
there's about three more after that. I think I don't even know how many there are.
Land, Diary, and Survival form a trilogy,
Survival.
really.
Is Survival got a horse in it? It's someone riding a horse.
Yeah, so Survival is
Is
set
that
on island with like
right?
warring factions, like a an old Irish farmer versus like a military guy. So
Okay.
it's
Is it
pretty.
actually good?
Yeah. It's got a very kind of old west vibe,
All
like kind
right.
of a Hatfield and McCoy sort of,
Okay, cool.
but
I
with
might give
zombies.
that a watch then. I'm quite enjoying my zombies at the moment, having done all the zombie films for this episode. I'd like to continue it. I'll try and watch that.
I just miss George Romero. I think we should cherish everything he made.
Yeah,
It's
fair. He was gone far before his time, wasn't he? It was a shame.
yeah.
Um,
Um, Much like some of the greatest films ever made that we have talked about, I'm thinking of You, the Thing. There was negative reviews on release
oh,
for this.
famously bad for this was there actually as well.
Yeah, critics hated it. My favorite is from Lee Baupra of Variety, who described it as amateurism of the highest order.
Well, not really, is it?
No.
I mean, if of course it's amateur, it's someone's first film, but that doesn't make it shit. What are critics anyway? They get paid to be negative about things. I don't care what critics say about anything. I'm not a
Uh,
critic. I don't consider myself to be a critic in any way.
Hey, I'm a paid freelance writer, so I can't say shit. I'm gonna move away from this subject swiftly. Um, but
But you didn't
y-
slag off Night of the Living Dead or the thing, did you?
no, because I'm not an idiot.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like generally critics, not all critics.
But like most misunderstood masterpieces, it was the younger audience that embraced kind of Night of the Living Dead specifically for its kind of bleak outlook and bleak kind of violence. I guess that's something that the youth were looking for in 1968, looking for a bit of
There hadn't
nihilism.
been a lot of that kind of level of violence in film either, had there at that point in time? I think we'd
Yeah,
had what Psycho probably and Peeping Tom, and even they aren't particularly graphic. I mean, this literally has people you can see guts being chomped on and all sorts. I can see why critics at the time would have. I think it's just a sensibilities of the late '60s. Like critics were very much prim and proper at that
I, th
point.
I think to get to it, to get to the subject that I think we were going to talk about, the politics of it, I think
Mm.
were quite popular among the young people, and this is the big kind of. I think this is why John Russo stepped away from the creative of Romero's work, because I've got a quote from him here. A lot of the critics have jumped off the deep end, likening the ghouls to the silent majority and finding all sorts of implications that none of us ever intended. I think George wants to encourage the kind of thinking on the part of some critics, but I'd rather tell them they're full of shit. That was John A. Russo, creator of Return of the Living Dead.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, Dwayne Jones. Obviously, I think on the last show you said he famously shunned any of that notion that there was any racial undertones to the film.
well, yeah. So I'll go straight to my favorite quote from Dwayne Jones. But this was more about people coming up to him years later and asking him about the film and the making of the film. I'm paraphrasing. I don't care. I never cared. I don't give a shit. There's a really great interview on the Criterion disc, which is one of the only interviews that he ever gave where he actively discussed Night of the Living Dead. I think he recognized the racial undertones of the role, even though Romero says that it wasn't intended.
Yeah, he famously says it wasn't part of what they wanted to do, was it?
But I think in 1968, if you write a character like that as without race and you cast a black man, it's going to fundamentally change the perception of the
I suppose
film.
so. This is right at the end of the civil rights movement, I guess, isn't it? So, well,
Yeah,
not that that's ever stopped as such, but yeah,
and Jones himself actively rewrote some of the dialogue and changed some of Ben's mannerisms to be kind of more akin to his own characteristics. So he did try and make the role his own. He did try
mm.
and give that identity to the role. And as I mentioned, he he did make the realization after the film that this is what they were making and this is the message that it was conveying.
It rings true for me that that's what happened to Jaws, though, as well. I think he hit upon it rather than designed it mostly. But as you say, difficult to make a film in that time period and cast a black man in the lead in it and it not be political.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think something that you mentioned last time that Romero has said that the allegory of night is accidental, not just um, not just the main character and the very very grim ending and his fate, but the kind of politics that run through it. George has quoted and saying that that was accidental, but it's just hard to believe if you look at every other film that he made. He's a fiercely political filmmaker.
well, you say, I mean, obviously, it's one of the most shocking endings to any film of all time, and is also a link to the other film we're going to talk about because that happens to the protagonists in Living Dead at Manchester Morgue as well. Slightly
Oh,
different
well,
circumstances.
before we go to Living Dead
Oh,
at
we're not
Manchester
jumping straight
Morgue,
into the film. I'm just linking it because it also happens in that shit one that I watched called Flesh Eater,
uh, the
which
one
is
with
obviously
the
supposed to be a callback to Night of the Living Dead because obviously the director, star writer was in Night of the Living Dead. But yeah, two people survived. These two younguns survived the whole thing, only to be they come out of hiding at the end, having survived, and someone, the sniper, goes, "Oh shit, there's more of them over there," and they both get
yeah.
shot.
Ah, I
So,
see.
hmm.
But yeah, before we go on to Living Dead Manchester Morgue, aka Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, APA. No, I'm not going to do it. Um, let's talk about the 1991 remake by Tom Savini.
Oh yeah, you know what? Just as a point of thing, I feel I went on Patricia Tallman's website, who plays Barbara in that remake, and there was a contact form, and I filled it in because I thought, wouldn't it be great if she came on the show if we had a Zoom with her to
Yeah,
talk about it for this episode? But sadly, I didn't hear back. If she does
yeah,
at some point reply, then maybe we can have her on and talk about it anyway because um it's in that pantheon of really good remakes. It's criminally underseen.
yeah. And I think her Barbara is the main reason that it's a worthy remake because Barbara in the original, she's perhaps the weakest element. She spends most of the film being catatonic, and as one of the main female cast, it's kind of a shame that she does kind of get a bit of a bum role in the
Yeah.
movie.
I
But
mean, I think George more than made up with that in other films, especially Day.
oh yeah, 100%. But in the remake, she's just great. She's just amazing. She has this kind of Ellen Ripley-esque evolution, and by
Yeah,
the end of the film, she's just this shell-shocked kind of warrior woman.
yeah, she's badass.
I love the remake. Great
Yeah,
effects. Obviously, it's Tom Savini directed. I think he's since warmed to the film, but he used to hate it. Um, the effects are brilliant. Tony Todd,
Tony Todd.
what a legend. He's fantastic as Ben. I like the ending of the remake because it's kind of similar. I think they cop out a bit on the allegory of Ben's death, but then
Yeah, I
it's already
suppose
been
it's
done.
yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, why it's hard to just if you're going to do it the same way, it's like what are you saying that hasn't already been said?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it was a bad choice to change that. Um, here's the thing. So I remembered the other day that 'cause I didn't manage to rewatch the remake because I've actually ordered it on DVD and it hasn't arrived yet. So I'm going to watch that this week, hopefully, sometime just for a laugh.
I like
There's
cover art.
that truck scene, where the truck blows up is really grim because you see the burnt bodies of that kid and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
You see them just sort of lying prone and then they get eaten. In the original one, just following that same truck scene, the zombies obviously pile on and find them and they start eating the dead people in the truck. And I noticed there's a zombie. He's got this really innocent face. He kind of does this funny little look, like his eyes roll up as if he's looking at something in the sky. And he's chewing a piece of this person, but he's chewing with his mouth closed, like
Oh,
really, really polite.
yeah, I know exactly which zombie you mean. Yeah.
He's just doing it for like one little, like 2 second shot, but he's just like, it's like I don't know. I mean, if you were going to be eating something, maybe the actor just forgot that he was supposed to be a zombie and he just chewed like he normally chewed
It's just
with
like
his mouth closed.
it's
Or
quite good
maybe,
this raw meat.
yeah, yeah. But then canonically, you could probably say, well, the zombie remembered how to chew politely, and that was a throwback to when he was alive. But I thought it was funny. It made me giggle when I watched it the other day.
They are, after all, just us.
Yeah, it just does. Here's another thing. The DVD of it that I've got, I turned it off because it's annoying. I've got this trilogy of the dead, which you spotted at my house the other week.
Oh yeah, I love it.
I've had it for a long time. I must have had it for like 20 years or something because that's when it came out. My wife bought it for me. Um, it's got these annoying scenes that someone's added into it. Like they recorded new scenes for it 20 years ago, like filling in bits that didn't need filling in. Like
Oh
it's so
yeah,
fucking shit. It's like, why would you? I'm going to release Night of the Living Dead. I know what I'll do. I'll make it better by throwing some amateur bullshit into it. And
yeah, I
it's
remember that.
like just weird choices as well. Like it leads you up. The graveyard isn't the opening. It leads you up to the graveyard because they transport the body of that first zombie there. That's these three guys are taking him there in a hearse, and that leads into the first scene with Barbara and her brother. And it's like they're talking about him in the car. It's like, oh, I don't like being here in this car with this dead guy, after what he did to that little girl. Like they just turned the zombie into a pedo. It's like, was he not scary enough? Like, what was that all about?
Yeah, yeah,
Why? It's just completely unnecessary and weird. Like, why? I mean, it, portraying a monstrous creature as a monster in real life kind of I don't know. It kind of diminished the point of it for me a bit. Like, why would you? It doesn't need to be that to be scary and evil. I mean, it obviously is scary and evil that people do that, but like, why turn this, legendary, iconic zombie character into something even more hateful? I don't know. I just couldn't kind of work out why they would bother doing it. But then at the same time, I really couldn't work out why they would want to build on something George Romero had done so well anyway.
Well,
Why are they making new scenes?
it's very kind of George Lucasy, isn't it? And I know exactly the version that you mean. I honestly, for collecting purposes, I'd love to have that back because I don't think it's on the Criterion. But it reminds me of when George Lucas was going back and adding shit to all his films, and I watched the director's cut of THX 1138, which is like a gorgeous, sparsely designed 70s sci-fi, and then he just adds CGI scenes of monkeys fighting in it. So it's, fuck it, why not? Why not just
I
take?
suppose
I
so. I
mean,
mean,
it's his
I don't even
film.
think George had anything to do with it though.
No, I don't
George
think he did.
Romero, it was just some fucking guys who decided to do it. It's like, who are you? Who are you, cunt? That's what I felt like watching it. The other weird thing, like they changed the score as well, and the score in the first one's great. It's a very odd score. It's like the score for the original one. When it struck me that it sounds older than 1968. It sounded like it wouldn't be out of place in like a 40s radio serial.
No, yeah, you're
It's
right.
very dramatic in
I
that way.
remember always loving when the little girl kills a mum and you get that kind of reverb scream. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Right.
Anyway,
Should we
I
start
think
talking
that's
about
everything.
Manchester?
Yeah, let's talk about Manchester. That was like I can do a really good Mancunian accent. I don't know why I did it like Kevin and Perry there. That was fucking awful. Sorry. Um,
It's a big point of contention for me that when I'm watching a film,
it.
like do you know that Robbie Williams film, Better Man?
Oh yeah.
So of recent times, it's the most annoyed I've been because Liam and Noel Gallagher's in it, like played by actors, and I swear the actors they've got to play him out from Manchester, they're putting on the accent, and it's like, are there no actors in Manchester that can do an impression of Liam and Noel Gallagher? Come on.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, that's one of the reasons why I hated that second Conjuring film so much, just because the English accents from the Enfield kids were so fucking shit.
Yeah, horrific.
It took me right out of it. So the Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, that's what we're going to call it.
Yeah,
Jorg Grau
Jorge,
directed it. Jorge, is that
your,
a Jorge?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's spelled Jorge. Let's say Jorg. Jorg
Okay,
Grau. Jorg
well,
Grau.
it's Spanish, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it probably is like you said it. All right. This guy directed this film.
Yeah.
um,
And for a Spanish guy, I'm telling you right now, I've not watched this in many, many, many years, and I'd forgotten the opening montage, which is set in Manchester, and it's probably the kind of most accurate depiction of Manchester that I've ever seen.
it
There's like
is.
miserable people queuing up at bus stops. There's like
It's all on Deansgate as well, isn't it?
derelict buildings.
Yeah,
It's
fly posting. I'm not sure there's a streaker. This woman gets her boobs out and runs across the road. I've never seen that happen on Deansgate.
yeah, and I'll tell you what, doing my research for this, I cracked out my Zombie Movies: The Ultimate Guide by
I'm
Glenn
glad you
Kay.
didn't say something else when I was talking about boobs and you said to
No,
crack something out.
yeah.
Fucking hell.
Zombie Movies: The Ultimate Guide by Glenn Kay. And in his description for this film, he lists all the stuff that happens in the opening, and he says, most frightening of all, a naked, ugly local streaking through the
Whoa.
streets. Calm down.
That's a harsh thing to say.
I
I mean,
mean,
I'm not going to comment on someone's appearances. No, it doesn't make a difference what I think. But I mean, she wasn't, was she? Like,
a perfectly fine-looking human being.
exactly. What the
Like,
fuck was that all about?
what are you talking about, Glenn Kay, writer of Ultimate Zombies Movies: The Ultimate Guide?
What a dick.
Anyway,
Uh, anyway, thoroughly entertaining film. The
it is really, really entertaining.
first northerner doesn't show up until about 15 minutes in. This is a Yorkshireman on a farm.
Probably played by an Italian man.
And you said, yeah, probably. Because Ray Lovelock, the star, was Italian, wasn't he?
Yeah,
With his he had a very Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent in it.
yeah. Almost
Uh,
everyone's like dubbed to the nines.
yeah, they are. There's a bad Irish accent. There's oh wow, accents
I
galore.
I went through most of the film thinking that Irish copper was American, and I was like, how is there an American guy in the Lake District?
Yeah, that was fun. So another parallel, there's a bit in this where a lone ginger woman gets attacked in a car, which is, I mean, don't know if that was inspired by Night of the Living Dead, but it certainly happens right at the beginning of Night of the Living Dead, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would think
So
so. Yeah.
it might have been something to do with it. Um, it's how to phrase this. I don't know how the film came about. I don't know if you've got some notes about the history of it. What I did notice was again paralleling the sort of political undertones of Night of the Living Dead. I do know that the zombies in this one are created. The dead are reanimated by this farming device that these farmers have got in this field. The northerner that I was just talking about, and what it does is it uses radiation. It knackers the nervous systems of pests in the locality on crops, and it makes the insects attack each other. I think is how it's explained in the
Yeah,
film.
it's an eco horror.
It's an eco horror, and I did
It's
a bit of my own research there, and apparently that in the 70s, so this was 1974, there was they were moving towards relying on synthetic pesticides and herbicides and stuff for
yeah,
farming, and there was a lot of fear about it. A lot of the hippie kids were up in arms about it because they felt like they were poisoning the earth. It was a year later, but apparently it was 1975 was the launch of a commercial self-propelled sprayers for the first time. So they just do their own thing. You know, like you get on a lawn,
yeah,
a lawn sprayer kind of. I get it. I gather it's that sort of thing. But yeah, so this was heavily playing onto the fears of some sections of society at the time because of the coming reliance on synthetic pesticides.
yeah. So it's like it's just as politically charged as Night of the Living Dead, but for
That's what I
different
was trying to
reasons.
say, but with more words than that. Too many words.
Farm horror. I've just got in my notes on one bullet
Farm
point.
horror.
Farm horror! Exclamation point. Um,
Is that
a
a
fa
subgenre in itself? Are we saying? Is that
Yeah, I'd say so.
why not?
I rewatched Black Sheep the other day, the New Zealand film about the
Oh,
mutant
that's a
sheep.
great film.
Yeah,
I've
that's
not seen
farm
that for
horror.
ages. Farm horror. All right, yeah. Let's do an episode on that. Farm horror.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of you know what I noticed in this? There's the zombies are really grisly.
Oh, they're
Like,
cool.
yeah,
They've got cool like crimson star irises that remind me
yeah, they
of.
do. They've got weird eyes, haven't they, that are grisly. But I mean, they just look they're all like they look like corpses. Like
Yeah,
there's one in particular. So there's this set piece towards the end where the kind of denouement is in this hospital, which was a hospital in Cheadle, I believe. Um,
it was, yeah.
and there's one there's a zombie that's had an autopsy done on him. So I think he's on some of the artwork for that, maybe the cover of the DVD or something.
The one with the bandage on his head.
He's a bandage on his head, and he's got
Yeah.
like scar. He's been cut open from his sort of collarbone down to his navel to do the autopsy, and he's been stitched back up, and it looks grim as fuck. He looks like a dead person, but then
That
he's also the way he walks, like he can't quite walk properly. You know, zombies they shamble and they stumble a bit, but this guy fucking nailed it. He looked like a dead person that had got back up.
Yeah, there's some really kind of grisly moments, especially in that kind of last kind of 5-10 minutes. There's that shot of the nurse who's just splayed and half naked and ripped open like
Oh
her
yeah, like
guts.
they pull a tit open. That's fucking grim.
They do.
I was watching it with my wife, and we both went, "Oh fucking hell!"
Mm,
Poof. Yeah, that was grim as shit.
lovely
Um,
shot, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was cool. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but it was, oof, yeah, it was horrible. Um, the other really good set piece I enjoy is the bit in the church. So I've not visited this church. I will say that I've visited a couple of filming locations for this film.
Is this Dovedale and Castleton?
Castleton I've been to, yeah. I went to Dove Stones, but I think that I went to the wrong bit. So the bit in the film was where there's like stepping stones across this little river, and I've not been there. What you can see at Castleton is when they're driving down, you can see it in the film. They drive up and down this valley with big rocks and greenery on each side of it, of each side of the road,
Yeah.
and that's where the church is. You see the church like on this sort of cliff face on the side of this valley. The church isn't there. That drive that they're on is called Winnett's Pass, and it's the drive downhill between the rocks into the town of Castleton, which was where some of the other bits were filmed as well.
Right.
But yeah, you can see that the rock is still there. There's no church on it. They superimposed the church onto this sort of ledge, and they did a bit of set dressing at the bottom of the cliff bit where the path to the church is, where you open the gate, and in the film where they open the gate and they go up the path and they're in the church. But there is no church there. The church itself was it was still in England. I can't remember now, but it wasn't. It's not in Castleton. It's somewhere else.
Mm.
So I want to visit the church one day because also I found that church set piece really good as well. When they all start coming back to life and they're sort of trapped in the cellar of the church. That was a great moment.
I think Let Sleeping Corpses Lie is a better title because they're only in the Manchester Morgue for the last like 15 minutes.
That's true. Very
Most of it
true.
is set kind of in, you get the opening in Manchester in Deansgate with the woman with her waps out getting completely ignored by the local populace, as would happen
Mm.
in Manchester. And then we go to a petrol station somewhere. Uh, a woman kind of totals his bike, and then she agrees to let him drive her to the Lake District,
That's right.
and then they spend most of the film in the Lake District,
Yeah.
around
So
this
she's
church.
already. It's like you said last week about the geography of this film. So
Yeah,
the guy drives from Deansgate on a motorbike, crashes his car. No, he doesn't crash. Sorry, a woman's car crashes into his motorbike and knackers the wheels, and this is on the way to the Lake District. So he demands that she then drives him to the Lake District.
yeah, because he
Where's
can't.
she going?
Yeah, he's
Where's
only
she on her
going to
way
the.
to?
He's only in her car because the pet the petrol station can only get his tires from Glasgow.
That's right, yeah. And it's
Yeah,
going to take a day, so he can't wait.
and then they get to the Lake District and there's mention of the Manchester Morgue because there's like a clinic or hospital where they are, and the doctor in there says, "Yeah, we either send the corpses or we get the corpses from Manchester." I think he
Well,
says we
there's
set.
actually a van, isn't there? Like a medical van that has Manchester Morgue written on the back of it that they drive past on the motorway.
Yeah,
The
so they
actual
send
the corpse delivery van.
the cor corpse bloody Deliveroo to from the Lake
Yeah.
District to Manchester.
And this woman who he bumps into, literally bumps into in the forecourt of the garage, she's already driven 3 hours because she's come up from London. There's a lot of
Madness,
geography in it. It's all over the
madness.
show. I
I guess
wonder
that's
if the
how people
guy.
travelled in the time before the before time,
Well, I think maybe D'Amato wanted to set it in Manchester because he wasn't from around here and he thought it sounded exotic. I believe
right?
I've read that somewhere. He couldn't be more wrong.
He could not be more. And then he gets there and he films that
It's from
Deansgate
Deansgate.
montage, and he's like, "How the fuck did I come to that decision?"
Yeah, what was I fucking thinking?
Yeah,
I mean, I love Manchester. I'm not slagging it off, but exotic's not a word I would use.
not at all.
Not at all. Um, yeah. So,
It's a bit. We go in for the eco horror aspect of it. That's the central through line if we're comparing it with the politics of Night of the Living Dead. But it's also it's anti-cop in it because the cops are shit.
oh yeah, it's very ACAB film. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
yeah. So
He just hates him because he's got long hair. Essentially, that's
yeah, he's like the old Irish or American, whatever accent he's trying to do.
yeah.
This old copper, and he's like, oh, because he blames him. He doesn't believe anything that's going on. Blames the hippie kid with the beard and the hair, and then in the end, shoots him, turns him
It's
into a
not helped
zombie.
by the fact that her sister, who she's going to see, is a massive smackhead.
Yeah,
Yeah. So they find evidence of drugs and just assume that they're all hopped up
I mean,
crackheads. But.
it's it's not also helped by the fact that the hero George is an absolute knobhead.
He's a
Like
prick.
he's one of the classic horror movie misogynist heroes that
Yeah.
yeah, he's great.
Yeah, they're frequently saying things like, "Oh, don't worry, love, you'll get over it. Calm down, love." He's always,
I
you
love
know,
the
gone.
I love the dubbing. I love when the science guys are demonstrating the insect repellent gun, and there's the farmer guy that just goes, "Hey, oh, it's good this." I love
That
it.
famous first Northerner I was talking about, he has some good lines like that. Yeah, he
Yeah.
sounds. It's like he sounds like kind of he's out of an episode of Wallace and Gromit, doesn't he?
The later on when they think they've cracked the case and they've killed the hippie, and they're talking about how the new bug killing tech is going to cause for a good harvest, and the copper's like, "I'm mad about
I'm mad
apples,
about
me."
apples. Yeah, what
Fuck,
was that?
fucking
What a great line! I laughed
stupid
out loud when
cops.
I thought, yeah, who says anything? Who's that mad about apples enough to actually say it? You know, what a bizarre line.
Not doctors, I'll tell you that.
No, they don't like him at all, do they?
No.
So
Uh,
yeah, as you say, he gets George, the hero, bit of a prick. Probably doesn't deserve to get shot, but he does get shot. He gets blamed for all the murders, all the zombie carnage. Gets shot. Very downbeat ending because he. I mean, I can't remember what's the woman called.
oh, it's a really Coronation Street name, Edna.
Edna. So Edna, who's been with him throughout this whole thing, she's already died. She's been eaten by her sister or something, stabbed by her sister or some shit. Uh, so she's already died. George survives to a point. Then he dies, and it's like, well, it's like Night of the Living Dead and Flesh Eater all over again.
Yeah. It's
Heroes getting
very
killed, and then that's not the end though, is it? Because
yeah,
there's a really good shock ending where the grumpy, probably racist copper. I mean, I don't have any evidence of that. I just assume he's racist
we
because he
assume.
sounds he's almost definitely racist. This cop.
Yeah.
Um, he goes home after a hard day of shooting the hippie, and he thinks he's sussed everything out. And then what happens?
The
George the
hippie comes
zombie's there.
back
George the zombie is alive, well, unalive, and
and he's managed to
unwell.
get in the copper's house,
He's found his
close the door
house,
behind him.
got in without breaking anything, doesn't arouse the suspicion, nothing to arouse the suspicions of this great detective. He's left everything untouched and he's waiting for the copper in his bedroom. And you can hear him doing the spooky breathing. And then George the zombie kills the copper. And then you get a shot of that crazy pesticide thing, and it's still on. They've increased the range of it,
They
and you
have
know what that means even more bloody zombies, doesn't it?
let sleeping corpses lie too.
Yeah. Was there one of those?
I don't think so, no.
No. Shame. Missed opportunity. Well, to be fair, the amount of things that are getting sequels now that nobody asked for, maybe maybe it's on the cards.
Oh, if it had like the same naming convention like Dawn of the Manchester Morgue and Day of the Manchester Morgue,
That'd be ace.
Diary of the Manchester Morgue. That sounds cool.
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I don't have much else to say about the Living Dead at Manchester Morgue.
No, it's just a really fun film. It is one of those films that came out of the zombie fever that was hitting cinema that was started in 1968 and then
Yeah,
carried on by Dawn of the Dead. This might predate Dawn of the Dead.
yeah. This was 74. Dawn was 78.
Ah, yeah. So
Yeah,
Night of the Living Dead is still having ripples throughout like global cinema in 74. So that's a
yes.
testament
I
to
mean, it's only 6 years later, isn't it? Realistically, it's not. That's no time at all in Hollywood, is it? Not that it was
no.
Hollywood production, but you know what I mean. No time at
Yeah,
all.
I guess for that to travel to Europe as well, like 1968 grows a cult following, and then producers start saying, "Yeah, we want these zombie movies."
Yeah, zombies are big now. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah,
Zombies are big money. But that's
yeah,
what I was saying before. They were arguably fairly cheap to shoot because especially with it like a if you're going to shoot in Manchester at the time, I would think. But a few extras in some pallid makeup and people just being generically chased about is all that a lot of people have ever needed to make a zombie film. I think it's harder to make them now and make them good because part of what made them so good at the time was the lack of technology, the fact that these things can spread and they infect people, and it's not easy to communicate or spread the word that this impending disaster is on its way. Now you've got, if you want to make a believable zombie film, it's either got to be like an isolated location or absolutely fucking hordes of them straight away somehow to
Yeah.
overwhelm everybody like World War Z or something. Or because you've got the means of communication, you either have to take out the communication link so nobody's got phones, which is impossible. It's that's why 30 Days of Night, I know it's not a zombie film, worked so well. You had a very small environment and someone nicked and burned all the phones, and that was it. They were cut off.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do that with a zombie film now, unless it's a very remote location. Like, there are so many zombie films with a small cast at a remote location. It's like, the 10 a penny.
Mm. Going back to you were saying, well, what you've just been saying about the economy of making zombie films. The reason I mentioned Colin, I've just double checked. It was the film that was marketed that it only cost 45 quid.
What? I didn't know that. Was that on at Grimfest?
It's 2008, so it's very
I
old.
saw it at Grimfest. Yeah, it's a British one though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's about. Is it the one that follows the zombie around?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely seen it. I'm sure it was a Grimfest one.
Yeah, made for 45 quid. That's what it was marketed.
45 notes, and good for it as well. It's a good film.
It's a good film.
I'll say this before we sign off. I noticed our friends. I'm going to call them friends now. It's a bit cheeky. Our friends, the Adams family. They posted something on their Instagram last week, and it was Zelda in a car, and it was like a joke. It was like a blooper, and it was her trying to say properly the word defibrillator.
Right.
And she said it was the line was along the lines of maybe the thing acted like a giant defibrillator, right?
Yeah.
So they're shooting their new film, as we know, and it's called we know it's called The Glorious Dead because they told us that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, what do defibrillators do?
Well, they zap you.
But what do they do? What are they for?
Well, bringing people back to life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's called The Glorious Dead. Does that mean they're making a zombie film?
A zombie western?
Yeah. Well, it's about. I don't think it's a western, is it? Like it's a. I think they're like sheriffs in like as in small town, like the sheriff in From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't think it's a western.
Could be making a zombie. Yeah, could be.
Could be. Don't want to spoil that, but they put that out there, so it's probably not a spoiler.
I mean, nobody knows. We can't spoil something nobody knows.
Well, that's true. Yeah, we don't know, and I mean, I hope it is. What I would say is, if they are making a zombie film, I know it's going to be fucking awesome because they'll do the best practical effects.
Yeah, I mean, all their films are awesome, as we've established.
Yeah. Anyway, should we leave it there for this week?
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Thanks for continuing on our journey with me, Ken. It's always a pleasure. Do we know what we're doing next time?
Shambling on towards the future.
What did we say we were going to do? I can't bloody remember.
Can't remember. We don't have. Let's not lie to the audience and convey that we have a plan.
I've got a list. I can't be bothered looking at it. So next week will be a surprise for us all. Tune in 2 weeks' time, and we'll be talking about some other films. Don't forget about the competition. We're going to leave that on for a couple of weeks. Comment your favorite zombie film. Win a cool little poster. It's not just like a shit one that I photocopied either. I got it. I paid for it. We've got them printed up on nice paper, the proper posters.
Oh, so I really shouldn't be resting my bear on it.
Yeah, you see why I was mad now. Anyway, Live from Manchester Morgue posters could be yours. There's 3 to give away. Tune in to find out if you've won next week after leaving us a comment. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Live from Manchester Morgue is an independent horror movie podcast, researched, written, produced and hosted by Gary Hames and Ken Talbot. New episodes air every 2 weeks on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and all major podcast providers. You can help us grow by leaving a rating or sharing the show with like-minded friends. If you want to get in touch, you can leave us a comment or email us at killertunes976@gmail.com.